After the new home buying rules came out in late 2024 requiring representation agreements before touring home, it looked like Zillow had the perfect solution. A short, simple form that let buyers start house hunting quickly without a long-term agreement for cost. But did this new agreement protect the home buyers? In this video, we'll unpack what Zillow's touring agreement really is, why it exists, and whether it's a win for buyers, or just a clever way on Zillow's part to keep those clicks coming. So what is a Zillow touring agreement really? On its face, it's a short-term, non-exclusive document that lets an agent unlock a few doors for you. But it's missing the key ingredient for a true representation agreement. Consumers were thrilled with the idea of free services, but without a defined compensation clause in such an agreement, an agent can't legally be paid for representing you, and therefore no client relationship was formed. That means no fiduciary duties, which means no confidentiality, no loyalty, no obligation to act in your best interest. And the agent you're paired with through Zillow, they weren't offered to you because they're the best local fit for your search. Agents you're offered through Zillow are offered because they paid Zillow to be offered. Often they purport to cover broad territories and are not the hyper-local experts you need to get the best deal in your target area. Listing agents and sellers aren't hip on these agreements either. When they see a buyer show up with a Zillow touring agreement, they don't see a serious represented buyer. They see a browser, or worse, somebody with questionable motives for seeing their property. Now let's talk about why Zillow launched these agreements in the first place. After the 2024 NAR lawsuit settlement, agents were required to have written representation agreements before showing homes. A huge shift in home touring in many areas, and that threatened Zillow's core business model. Their revenue depends on buyers clicking that Schedule a Tour button on their website. If agents can't show homes without an agreement in place, that button becomes a problem for Zillow. So Zillow introduced the Zillow Touring Agreement, describing it as a solution to help agents and buyers navigate industry changes. In reality, the agreement was simply about Zillow protecting Zillow's pipeline. The touring agreement was never meant to serve as a real buyer-broker agreement, and in fact never could because Zillow's not a broker. So were Zillow touring agreements a win for buyers? Not really, and here's why. When you sign a Zillow touring agreement, you're unprotected. There's no fiduciary duty, no confidentiality, and no obligation for the agent to represent your interests. Meanwhile, because those Zillow agents never intended to work for free, they show up at the touring appointment with a real broker agreement, and buyers are pressured to sign those agreements on the fly with no opportunity to review or negotiate the agreements. And don't forget, that Zillow agent may not even know your target market that well. Zillow's referral system isn't built around hyperlocal expertise. It's built around coverage and who's willing to pay for an appointment with you, reducing you to a lead. I don't know about you, but I don't want to be anybody's lead. That combination, unrepresented, underinformed, and misaligned, is not a recipe for your home buying success. Look, I get the appeal of browsing properties on Zillow's website and clicking that button to see a few homes. It feels very efficient. But hey, you're only going to be committed for 7 days. Nope, not when that Zillow agent turns up with that 10 to 20 page agreement that specifies a much longer duration. And you don't even know that agent yet. I contend there's a better way. Start by intentionally finding, vetting, and hiring the right agent for your situation before looking at properties. Why go on a blind date with a Zillow agent who shows up with an engagement ring? Use my buyer agent game plan formula to develop your strategy to find, vet, and hire that unicorn agent. Then you'll feel very comfortable signing a real representation agreement for the long haul. Already found your ideal agent but still feeling a little skittish? Create your own lightweight, short-term touring agreement following the strategies I lay out in my Agency Agreement Decoder course. Create a real client relationship for whatever duration you want to start with. Lay your foundation with buyer agent game plan and set yourself up for home buying success with Decoder. The Zillow Touring Agreement is just one example of what rolled out under the new home buying rule. Virtually every broker has their own idea about what should be in that agreement. Let's look at some real-world buyer-broker agreement examples to help you better understand how to handle the agreement that your agent asks you to sign. Click the video on your screen and let's get started.